I really like a guy who says what he wants and tells the haters to go fuck themselves, because that's kind of what we do. That's why I figured we'd give some love to Megadeth, extremely talented lead and rhythm guitarist and the world's biggest Metallica enthusiast. Metallica! I'm not really into heavy metal that much, but Holy Wars easily has to be one of my favorite metal songs of all time. This is more your domain, though. I see you got the Megadeth sticker on the thermostat there. Are you chewing gum?
Yeah. Growing up, you always hear about Metallica. They're always the band being talked about. Luckily, when my dad showed me Megadeth, the first album was this album. First song, of course, the opening, instantly hooked into it. Absolute explosive instrumental ability, arrangements. But what I love the most about Megadeth over Metallica, I think musically they are more talented, especially Dave in his writing. He always has a stellar lineup. This lineup being the fan favorite and also my personal favorite. Hard-hitting thrash metal that is just undeniably some of the best that the industry has ever seen.
You know, in defense of Metallica, they have a pretty stellar lineup too. I mean, they got Lars. The legacy and influence of this album speaks very much for itself, so I think we'll just get right into it. Without further, Bovine Excrement, Holy Wars. Speed! The guitar technicality sets this one far apart. The shifting patterns in the main riff keeps it fresh, and Marty and Dave have such phenomenal chemistry too. Yes, Rush. Dave's vocals are very polarizing, and he's not necessarily like a James Hetfield or a Maynard James Keenan, but he has a really distinct, interesting, unique tone that I think fits perfectly with this kind of music. Marty shows how innovative he is, throwing in some Spanish Fly in the middle of this thrash metal song.
One of the greatest hard-hitting thrash metal songs, I think, of all time. The intro itself just really gets your blood pumping with the well-paced breaks. Nick, again, pounds the living hell out of his kit. I mean, being the drum tech for the previously fired drummer, it's interesting to see how he was able to just come to the table and just show the world who he was.
Then we get to the Punishment Due. Probably the highlight of the song for me, especially the main riffs, the power chords, and when he hits the high open E and B. The theme of the song is really interesting too. I know you're really into this kind of stuff with the religious conflicts and war. It takes themes common in the genre, but really expands upon them and puts them into more detail. I really have nothing bad to say whatsoever about this whole song. It's one of the best metal songs I've ever heard, and like I said in the beginning, I'm not even that much of a metal fan. Structure, the songwriting, the lyrics, all outstanding. Give this one a 9.
Like you said, I agree. Structure's fantastic. Everything about it just stands out. Really nothing bad at all to take away from it, so I give it a 9 as well. Well, I've seen them twice live, and they always open with this one because of the sheer energy. Lyrically, this song is shorter. It's very right to the point, more instrumentally heavy, with Marty showing off his masterful guitar playing.
I really like the tie-in, too, between the song's subject and the album cover, which I think is awesome, by the way. It rivals Maiden for some of the best, except I think it's the second best cover because that System Has Failed cover, pretty badass. How was the album, by the way? Dave's solos, while ridiculously good, I think don't sound that much different than Holy Wars, for the exception of course, the final solo spread out masterfully across the back end, which I think maybe Marty, we can't really tell what the difference is between these two, but I know the comments are going to be after us.
Instrumental outro, it can be seen as a little long, is nowhere near dull.
And I think it was brilliant to include that instrumental break too, which really keeps the song interesting, while I think the pacing for the whole album gets occasionally shaky, especially towards the middle. Each individual song has great pacing, and especially on this one, so I give this one a 7.5.
An 8.
Take no prisoners. This is exactly what I was talking about with pacing. The guitar work is insane and intense, but we're kind of running out of breathing room here. It's kind of
yeah, it is, but they know their audience, and I think it was well put to put these three back to back.
You're hearing Dave Ellefson for like 0.5 seconds. That was pretty cool. While the heavy riffing does get occasionally a little bit tiring, I think what makes up for it is the lyrical content, like that outstanding line reversing JFK's words, and the chants in the beginning also give me goosebumps.
Besides the beginning part, the rest of the song doesn't have much going for it besides the lyrics. It's kind of just its own steady thing, but in no regards is it a bad song.
I agree, 6.5.
I give it a 7.
Oh, there's Dave Ellefson again. It's a refreshing new sound, and it gives much more space to take everyone's performance in. Ellefson's riff is outstanding, and Dave and Marty do wonders with it with their own riffs on top of it.
It has one of the most well laid out instrumental intros. Dave's melodic bass line with the guitar ringing out was perfect. That was great. The intro is probably the best aspect of the song itself.
I noticed that. It's like, I don't know if it was like an Apple glitch or something, but first half of the song is awesome, and then as soon as it gets to like right at the halfway point, I don't know, it like skips to any of the first 3 songs before it, and it's just like the exact same thing for the entire rest of the song. Just same pounding riff into my skull.
It was
nonstop.
It was. The highlight of the song was definitely the first minute or two. This is one of Dave's favorite songs to play. I can see why that.
This one was funny. It's different, I will give it that. And once the song kicks in, it almost has like kind of a line dancing kind of feel. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The biggest standout here is Marty with that fantastic riff. And sounds like Dave invented mumble rap on this one too. I noticed many of these shorter songs definitely have a lot more to offer than even some of the longer ones, for the exception of obviously Holy Wars. Definitely one of the more eccentric, but I think also intriguing songs on the record. It adds a lot to the track list, so I'd give it a 7.
Definitely a unique track, I will agree. Give it a 7.
Not one of the stronger ones, but it has a nice shift in energy, much slower than the previous tracks, and Marty dials in a unique tone for his solo, too, to keep things interesting.
The intro guitar riff and tone is perfect. Dave Ellefson can be heard again. The song is somewhat of a return to what we heard in the beginning of the album.
No, it is what we heard in the beginning of the album, I think. Yeah. Again, Apple just glitching out here. Same song.
It's about a ghost he thought lived with him. Again, nothing really too relatable.
But he already did one about his serious drug addiction. Definitely a meme song.
We're somewhat on a break. Not terrible songs, but nothing that compares to the first couple. And then we get to this song. The stellar, legendary, looked up to Marty Friedman solo. Technicality, its uniqueness, its arrangement, its speed is the redeeming factor for the song in and of itself.
This heavy, powerful, thrashing song is about dating.
Yeah.
Very Maiden-esque chord progression. I think that may be a reason you like this one too. And it's the second most popular, and I'm not really seeing the hype, sir. It's good to see the shifting style though, but it doesn't stand out to me, especially ahead of songs like Hangar 18 or Poison is the Cure. Sounds more like Megadeth doing a cover of The Trooper, which thankfully someone actually allowed us to visualize that too. 6.5.
8.
Again, the shorter songs on this one continue to pack in the most magic to them. The track that puts the rhythm section on display really well, too. Dave's character is awesome. The British accent and everything. Speaking of Maiden, he sounds like the guy from the beginning of Number of the Beast.
It's a very unique bass line again from Dave. Really cool to see him shine through.
The title track is a great return to form from what we heard earlier on the album. It's interesting and creative to tell the story from the Nuke's perspective, too. I thought that was a really original, cool twist. Dave's vocals make this song getting more and more aggressive as the song progresses, and dropping some classic lines too. Polaris takes it to another level. The awesome rhythmic change, and for the better after that hemispheres transition there. One of the better riffs on the album too from Dave. The heaviest hitting song on here since Holy Wars by far. I give this one a 7.5.
Second half once again brings the thrash, breaking out their skill and performance. Perfect way to close the album. They started with a banger, ended with a banger. Give it a 7.5.
Which did you like more, Polaris or the first half?
Probably first half.
Really?
Yeah.
I would like to disagree with you, sir.
Maybe we should do a thing in the comments.
Overall, undisputedly a top 3 album from Megadeth. I know everyone likes to hail this as the number 1, but I think Peace Sells has some outstanding songs in there, notably the title track and Devil's Island.
Some of the best songs they have to offer. Definitely top 3. Definitely Peace Sells is a good one. And one album I think you might like is that came out 2 albums after this is Euthanasia.
Why couldn't it have System Has Failed been awesome?
What are you going to do?
Holy Wars is one of the most legendary songs, I think, in the genre, and while I feel like it's far and away the best song on the album, songs like Hangar 18 add a great amount to it, and also the closer. While I personally feel there are a few tracks that I could have done without, like Lucretia and 5 Magics, the importance of this entire album can't be understated. I give this one a 7.5.
I give it a 7.5.